This is before Facebook. This was before any of that. And so in order to really have a name for yourself, you had to be a speaker. That was the only way to get in front of dentists or take out huge ads or write. So writing, I did a lot of writing. I had a blog in the very beginning. I was actually the dental implant blog. I think I was part of the first 10 dental blogs out there.
From the time that the patient clicks on something about finding a dentist to the time they accept treatment, how many things can go wrong in that funnel? And I kind of broke down the funnel in there. And people are like 5. On the high side, people are like 20. And then I pull it up on the screen and I'm like, here's 100 things that we've documented that can go wrong, that we have to check each one of them. And each of those have a family underneath it, anywhere from 5 to another 20 or 30 underneath it.
Why am I apologizing for your crappy plan? Let's be honest. So that's when you start turning things around, and it does make a difference when you start saying to the patient, because if you can blame some faceless HR person that is selecting the plan, it's almost like, you're passing the buck, but to be honest, that's the right place it should be at. It's not me.
Welcome to another episode of Dental Marketing Theory. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want. But you can't grow if you don't understand insurance. And today I have the one and only Teresa Duncan, who's the president of Odyssey Management. And she's going to dive deep into how dental insurance really works and what strategy is right. Should you be looking at dental insurance as a marketing strategy, or should you be looking at eliminating all of your dental insurance and going all fee for service? Or is there something in between that's a little bit closer to the truth? You're going to want to pay attention to this one. She truly is a whiz when it comes to dental insurance. Stay tuned. All right, Teresa. So why don't you tell me how you got into the dental industry?
Well, I didn't plan on staying, that's for sure. I kind of thought it was going to be a hit and run summer job. And then I lucked into an office where the doctor was just amazing. And he was really looking at me as somebody who was going to grow with his business, even though he didn't tell me that initially. And I had told him I'm only going to be here for a little bit. But I really didn't plan on staying. I was actually waitlisted for medical school. And I was waiting to hear back from 2 different schools, and that didn't happen. I would have to reapply, and I was like, wait a second, I've got a really good thing here. So, but I don't know if you picked up on the fact that I'm Asian. So having an Asian mom hearing that I'm not going to medical school was devastating, but we managed to get through that part of life. I started out as an assistant / receptionist, and I was absolutely terrible at being an assistant. I'll be honest. And as soon as he could, he said, let's see how you are administratively. And thankfully it was a fit.
That's a good leader. That's a good leader that can identify, what this person, even if without training, they're not going to be good at this, but maybe let's find something that fits them better. So you move into the administrative side. I imagine you were probably pretty young. You were just out of high school, you said?
I was just out of college.
Yeah.
Just out of college. Yeah. So I was, 22, 23. And, the whole world is in front of you. You don't know what you want to do, but you want to do something. And so I just poured everything into the job. And I was looking at all these old balances because he had bought the practice from his father. And there were all these old balances and people paying $5 a month. Or, I'll pay him when I see him in the neighborhood. And boy, that was an eye-opening situation. So accounts receivable got fixed.
Back in the good old days of dentistry, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You do a root canal and I'll cook a meatloaf for you, that kind of thing. It was great. So we finished that up, and the sale of the practice was final and all that. And so we just really were rocketing forward. I was super excited to get my first fax machine. I'm not even going to lie. I know that's how old I am. Don't say it, Gary. Don't say it.
Well, I was on a call yesterday, and I was like with my team, right? And our team, we're marketing people. So it was a pretty young team. And I just turned 41. And I said, hey, you remember when Invisalign came out and no one knew what clear aligners were? And they're all in the comments, Gary's dating himself. And I'm like, man, I didn't even mean to do that.
I know. It's embarrassing, but you know what? We got to embrace it. You get to give yourself another couple years like I have. And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, sorry to interrupt the show, but we're going to do a quick segment that I think will bring you a ton of value. And we're calling it Ask Gary. So we have people who are sending in their questions to askgary@smcnational.com, or they're DMing us or dropping them in the comments below. And today's question comes from Craig, and he asked this: is direct mail marketing making a comeback? And this is a great question. And what most people don't realize about direct mail marketing is that it never went away. There's always a time or an opportunity for it, but you got to understand how it works. So I'm just going to give you the basic economics of direct mail. There's always going to be a cost associated with it because you got to print a tangible thing and then you got to distribute it. So there's always going to be that cost with it. However, if you're the only person in your market doing direct mail, then it will work. Here's the tricky part though. What happens is people see that you're sending direct mail, other competitors see that you're sending direct mail, and then they copy you and they send the same thing. So before, if you were sending postcard out to, let's say, 10,000 homes, and let's say you're getting 40 new patients from it, then the next person that sends out with you, they're going to copy you, they're going to do something similar. Now you're only going to get 20 patients from it. And then other people are going to see that you two are doing it, so of course they got to do it too. And then they're going to cut you down. Now you're only getting about 13 new patients. And then somebody else is going to copy it. Now you're getting 10, and so on and so forth. To the next thing you know, it seems like everybody in that market is sending postcards and nobody's getting results from it. So the trick is trying to figure out in your market when other people aren't going to be sending postcards. And if no one's sending postcards, then it'll work great. But if everybody's sending postcards, then it doesn't work. You have to realize that most people are going to go and search you online. So if you're sending out postcards and you don't have Google reviews, you don't have your website set up properly, you don't have your phone answering set up, you're at the national average of 35% unanswered call rate, then none of it's going to work anyway. So really understanding the foundation of internet marketing is really the most important thing to understand when it comes to direct mail marketing. So you're working at this office, things are going really well. What was your next step in your career?
Well, I was really very good at talking to patients, not just about treatment, but about money. And the fact that I was really just here's your bill and let's take care of it instead of sugarcoating it, that really did well for us. It set the tone for the office. And his friends started saying, hey, can Teresa help me out here? Can Teresa help me out here? And that's just kind of how it started. So I still do some side work for him because, I've been with his
He's still practicing?
Yeah.
Wow,
He's
cool.
he's definitely, we're looking at, seeing what the transition is, but it's probably been like 30 years now that maybe almost 30 years that I've been with him. And we're more old friends than anything. But so I started helping his friends, and then that started with the speaking. And he and I, we always kind of joke whenever we have our dinners. He's like, I don't know if it was the best thing I ever did that can encourage you to go, do your own thing, or if it was the worst thing, because, it took me out of the office. And I'm sure, he grew a lot, but still, I do wonder what things would have been like had I stayed. But my replacement is amazing, so she's still there. Yeah,
That's awesome. So you go out on your own, and what was that like? What year was that, out of curiosity?
oh gosh, let me see, my son was born, so maybe about 2003, 2004.
So
So
it's not like now. Like now it's like dental consultants and support is like, there's tons of people out there. Like but back then it wasn't that
tons.
way, right? It wasn't.
It wasn't as obvious. This is before, now I'm really dating myself. This is before Facebook. This was
Yeah.
before any of that. And so in order to really have a name for yourself, you had to be a speaker. That was the only way to get in front of dentists, or take out huge ads, or write. So writing, I did a lot of writing. I had a blog in the very beginning. I was actually the dental implant blog. I think I was part of the first 10 dental blogs out there. And it was a dental implant blog because I did education for the Association of Dental Implant Auxiliaries, which is part of the ICOI. And that really got my name on the map. But you had to be in front of doctors in order to get any kind of business. And then, of course, when Facebook came around and Facebook ads, things got a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, online classes, things are a lot easier. But yeah, I did that whole circuit, and it was tough. It was really tough, and it's scary because you go from having a steady income to now you check the phone to see if it's ringing, you check your email to see if things are working. You're like, where is everybody? And then all of a sudden it hits and you're like, okay, maybe I'm onto something. But Gary, it's terrifying being an entrepreneur in the beginning. It is scary.
Really
and yeah, it's
really hard.
really messes with your head a little bit because you were so good at what you were doing. And now you're like, I don't know if I'm good at this. And it really does mess with your head.
It's interesting. Yeah. Because as you move from an individual contributor at an office, right? So like a treatment coordinator, it's just like, put the patients in this chair and I'm going to make sure they say yes to treatment and make sure that their financing feels good, right? And you do it better than anybody in the office. You don't need any help really besides just people doing the basic bare minimum of their job. And then you knock it out of the park. And then you move over to an entrepreneur and it's like this whole different game that you're playing. and a different way you have to provide value. And you start to get, when you get good at it, you do start to get dopamine hits from that as well, just like you did at the other job. But then this is what really threw me off as an entrepreneur. Then you move to having to lead other people to do a good job, and you lose all those dopamine hits. So then you have this battle inside of yourself where you're like, I haven't felt good about business in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's because you're setting other people up to win, and you're not getting those quick wins anymore, because helping people win is more of a long game, right? It takes months or even years sometimes. And so you just start to face like this really weird self-doubt, and like people call it imposter syndrome, all those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, and two, you have to trust your feelings for hiring people. And, you know, right now the staffing issue is a mess, right? But it wasn't that much better back when we started out, right? So you had to make sure that the person that you brought on was going to really share your business and share your vision. And when you're working for someone, you're the one that shares the vision. You're not the one ultimately tasked and taking on all the risk. And so when you realize, okay, this is all on me, yeah, that's a total mess. And you get real picky about the people you want to bring on board. And then you go the other way where you're like, I can't be this picky. I have to have people working because I need stuff done. And you got to find that balance, because then that leads to maybe some not great decisions, right? So it's a mess, right? But it's worth it. I don't want to discourage anyone. I don't want anyone to hear this and think, oh, I shouldn't do it. It's totally worth it if you've got the stomach for it.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you go out, you start your own business. How are you directly helping dentists at this point?
So I am all about revenue. I am all about empowering the dental office manager, and insurance is such a pain point that quickly became, you know, topic number one of, you know, the three that I really had. And good, it was good because I enjoy that. I know that I'm weird in that, but I really enjoy the whole business insurance, the whole thing about claims, getting things paid, explaining to the patient. And so that really became my niche. And there's only a handful of people out there speaking on insurance. And so it's not hard to say, hey, I've got a class on this. And the associations are going, oh my gosh, we need this, because it's such a pain point.
It is.
And it goes hand in hand with a lot of the revenue discussions that they have to have. I mean, it's all about production and collections. Now, when I was starting out, was PPO a big deal like it is now? No, it's really changed. It's turned into its own little beast. But it really is so confounding to people that they need a little bit of a translation. And that's what I feel like I'm in the business for, just to make it more palatable. And it's not impossible. It's not easy, but it's not impossible.
Anytime I hear about dental insurance and how hard it is, and just like how backwards it is, I always think of that movie Incredibles, the Disney movie, and where he's working in the office and the little old lady calls him and goes, I need to submit a claim for my house that burnt down. And he's like, so they're like, denied. And then finally he's like, listen, you have to go over here and you have to put this claim number in here and you have to file this 401(3)(7) and you have to go back. And if you do all these things, then you'll get your claim through. And he gets in trouble for giving her kind of the secret of how to get through. But I feel like that's insurance. Like, if you don't know the codes and you don't know the words, sorry, like, sometimes we'll say yes and sometimes we'll say no, and you just have to deal with that. So how do you kind of view it when you are working with people? Like, what are like the biggest obstacles, like out of the box? If I put a bunch of dentists in a room and they all have 5 to 10 offices each or more, and they're dealing with insurance problems, like where do you even start with something like that?
First thing I say is we need to take the emotion out of this. That's how I start. And so what kept me busy during COVID was all these strategy calls that I was getting, because you can book an hour with me to just go over whatever you want. And they would call because they finally looked at their numbers and they were just livid at how much they were writing off. And I would say, listen, I understand that you're livid. I get mad about a lot of stuff too. But when you make a huge decision that's going to impact not only you, but the livelihood of your employees, we need to do it with numbers, not emotion. So I talk about that. Let's stop being mad, because let's all acknowledge, everybody in the room. When I do my participation workshops, I'm going, everybody's mad. I get it. But let's talk about the level of mad. Are you inconvenienced, or are you truly annoyed that you're writing off all this money. So let's look at that amount. And so if I can get them to take the emotion out of it, they do start thinking rationally. It just takes a little bit of the intensity out of it, and then they can really take a look at the numbers. Sometimes what they think is the worst plan is not the worst plan. It's a totally different plan, but once we run the numbers, that comes up. And then there are other things that you need to deal with too. This is unfortunate, but this is the way it is in this industry. We have team members who are brand new, may not be as equipped to do what the doctors want them to do. If you decide to drop plans and you don't have a good team supporting you, forget about it. You're cooked. You're never going to get it 100%. You're not going to be able to talk to your patients. It's just going to be bad messaging all around. Your team members are going to be angry that they're forced to do all this extra work because of your vision that never got communicated down. So emotion is the first thing I take a look at, and then the numbers, because the numbers really, I'd love to look at the numbers first. 100%, I'd love to look at the numbers first because that's where I live, but I can't even get them to focus on that until I can talk them off the ledge.
And the ledge is typically like, I hate insurances. All insurances are bad. I have to go out of network with every insurance. How do we stop insurances from destroying the world? Is that the basic?
Yeah. I think you've been in my last class because that's pretty much it. Like, how do we stop insurance from taking over the world? I hear that too. Like, how do we stop them? I'm going, I don't know how to stop them, but here's how we handle it in your office. And honestly, getting out of plans sometimes is not the answer because some offices are just not ready to go out, like for staffing issues or the dentist mentality. But for a lot of them, sure, they could trim. I mean, gosh, you talk to marketing clients all the time. There are some that are just overflowing with patients and they don't even consider getting out of network. That's mind boggling to me.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that a little bit in a minute because I do see insurance as a marketing avenue. But the other thing I want to talk about first is what I'm seeing a lot online, and I'm sure you see these folks too, is like get out of network 100%, be only fee for service. This is the only way to practice, only help people who are going to pay all cash up front. Let me show you how to do that. And I know there's models like that out there. I've worked with people like that before. And I'm not knocking it. It's like, whatever, do whatever you want to do. But I've been told, and I don't know if this is true or not, that's not a realistic option for everybody. Like that just doesn't work everywhere in every market for every dental office. What are your thoughts on that? Where do you fall on the spectrum?
I fall in, I have to take a look at your office to tell you whether or not that's a good thing. I mean, the number one question I get after classes is, should I drop a plan? And I don't know. I don't know what's going on in your office. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're in a building with 20 other dentists. Like that totally factors into any decisions that you make. So I don't know if it's the answer for everyone. I do know that the loudest voices on social media, and I'm sure this is nothing new to you, are sometimes not the best voices. And sometimes the wisest voices are just sitting to the side going, oh man, I tried that. But if I say something, they're going to jump all over me.
Yeah.
And so you have to listen. Is it 90% get out of network? Well, there's probably a very huge silent majority that would like to tell you otherwise, but they will get jumped on. And I'm in all these Facebook groups as you are.
Me too. Yeah.
There's some real flocking going on, like flocking of conversations.
I've been flogged before. I've been for just stuff that I was just like, didn't mean to do, totally misunderstanding. And they were like, nope, you're a dirtbag and we're going to flog you publicly. And it's like, whoa, holy smokes. All my podcasts. Here's the interesting thing. Like I can go into all my Google Analytics and podcast stuff and can see when it happens because all my numbers go through the roof, right? Because everybody's like, who's this person? Who's this bad person? And so that's, I definitely agree with you on that. So now,
is there such a thing as bad publicity, Gary? I mean, I don't know. You're the marketing expert. Is there such a thing?
It depends. Yeah, it depends. There's been, it's always worked out. So it's just like, whatever, you know what I mean? I try not to usually feed the trolls. That's my general rule is like, if you have trolls living under your bridge, don't feed them. But every once in a while I can't help it. Okay, so now on the flip side of it, I've talked to other people who are like, "Oh, dental insurance is just marketing. Rather than paying a big marketing bill, you're giving a discount on every treatment for this kind of insurance, and then you just have to be wise in the insurances that you pick." How do you feel about that approach?
It's 100% the truth. So one of my earlier PowerPoints had a slide that had the grass is green grass, not green grass. And it was really just about perception because in dental insurance it's marketing And if it's working out for you, it's great. Grass is green. If it's not working out for you, then you get real angry at it, right? But the fact is, you're giving up 20, 30, 40% of your fees for marketing because it's basic contract law. And I think this is what I talk about to take the emotion out is contract law. You signed a contract. The consideration is that I lower my fees. Their consideration is that they're going to send you new patients. That's the roles of the contract. So if they're not sending you new patients, then your contract, you're upside down. It's up to you to make a good business decision in that case. If they're sending you people, what are you getting mad about? You looked at the fees and they're sending you people. Now, if they're not sending you people, yeah, I'm getting mad now because here I am giving up all these fees and you're not doing your side of it, right? So if you look at it that way, yeah, it is marketing because they're putting butts in the seat. Now, you don't like the butts now because they're expensive butts,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But you sign that contract. So do you get a new contract? Do you make a decision? That's the business side of it, right? But what I say to people all the time is you are not stuck. It just feels like you're stuck, but it's just that the marketing that you could be doing to get unstuck is not easy. That's so you're not stuck. You just don't want to do the other side. And
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, so
Marketing, it's
hard.
tough.
Yeah, no, there's so many. I have a little slide that we've started to use to kind of explain this. And I actually at Dykema, we were talking about the Dykema event before we hopped on here. We did a boot like a workshop the day before for a lot of the dentists that were there. And we one of the things I put up is I said, okay, from the time that the patient clicks on something about finding a dentist to the time they accept treatment, how many things can go wrong in that funnel? And I kind of broke down the funnel in there. And people are like 5 on the high side. People are like 20. And then I pull it up on the screen and I'm like, here's 100 things that we've documented that can go wrong that we have to check
Wow.
each one of them. And each of those have a family underneath it, anywhere from 5 to another 20 or 30 underneath it. So you're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pitfalls. And if you're not like fully dedicated to that and focused on it, it's super hard. Like it's really, really hard because things just dry up out of nowhere. Plus, not to mention, marketing is a live action competition. Like no one talks about that, right?
Right.
Literally running ads and SEO is we're competing against everybody else, and our job is to be on top of them, or else we're below them. And if you're below them, you might not even get the opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's very, very complicated. Now, what the insurances have done a good job is they've kind of learned how to trick the patients into believing that their insurance is like real insurance, meaning I have health insurance, right? So if I fall right now, break my arm, I go to the doctor, pay my copay, and they make my arm right again. And I don't have to worry about like, oh, it's all in the insurance, right? If I go out and drive my car and I hit something and I wreck my car, they're going to make my car whole. If I happen to damage someone else's property up to a certain dollar amount, that's covered too. My house burns down today, they replace my house. They put me in a hotel or a rental until my house is done being rebuilt. And dental insurance is not anywhere like near that. Like if all my teeth fall out right now, they're going to be like, hey, here's $2,000. You know what I mean? Like, here's $2,000. Hope good luck. And it's like, well, wait a second. This is $100,000 worth of treatment that I need. Sorry. So it's people don't, the patients don't really understand that. So it's almost like the patients have been hoodwinked a little bit and marketing's really hard. So then how do you kind of pick that road?
Well, we have to course correct. We have to do the whole conversations to get the point across. So I teach in my classes, it's not insurance, it's benefits, your yearly benefit. It's not your maximum, it's your benefit. And I've started teaching, last 2 years, I've started teaching when something goes wrong with the insurance, we need to put the blame or the onus where it belongs. So Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry that your employer selected a plan that doesn't cover this. Maybe if you go talk to your employer, it looks like your employer selected a plan that doesn't cover this particular crown. I'm disappointed too because we see it covered in other plans. Maybe it's something to talk to your employer about. So I've been teaching, let's go back to the employer because employers don't realize how bad of a plan they're picking. They're picking what the broker puts in front of them. I mean, I helped companies choose plans for years. When I was a manager, they usually go with the first thing that the broker sticks in front of them, and the broker sticks what's in front of them is what's going to get him or her the biggest commission. So of course there's no educated conversations going on there. So if you can show them, look, if you just opt for the implant option, or if you opt for clear aligners here, your life and your employees' lives are going to be a lot happier. You're not going to hear the complaints. And I was told I do work with some insurance carriers to help them understand the provider side of it. And I was told by a carrier a long time ago, we would absolutely provide a plan that covered clear aligners, adult ortho, implants, everything. It's just that the premium would not work for the average employer. And so it's the employer telling us to cheapen down to make the premiums more affordable. But see, that's a business. That's not emotion. That's a true business thing. And that's what I try to get doctors and managers to understand that.
That's a really good point. So yeah, one of the things that that we have to do is I'll give you an example in our business. So sometimes we have to like help people set up their like Facebook pages and things like that. So that way we can set up ads, so we can set up tracking. And sometimes it's very, very painful to do that because Facebook makes it super difficult and people don't understand how that works. They just think, yeah, here's the login. No. You got to have this pay. There's all these things that go into it, right? And so what I have to constantly remind my team is like, guys, either we're going to be the bad guy or Facebook's going to be the bad guy. It's whatever we decide to communicate, though.
Exactly.
And with insurance, I feel like it's the same way. If you allow the patient, they're going to make you the bad guy because they don't know anybody at the insurance place. They're certainly not going to the broker and yelling at them. So they're going to yell at you unless you set the table and you use the right language, then position like, hey, that your insurance stinks. Sorry about that, but here's how I can help you, though.
Right.
Someone's going to be the bad guy, though, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's always the person that's right in front of them. So it's you, and I've taken my lumps, and it took me years to realize, why am I apologizing for your crappy plan? Let's be honest. So that's when you start turning things around, and it does make a difference when you start saying to the patient, because if you can blame some faceless HR person that is selecting the plan, it's almost like, yeah, you're passing the buck, but to be honest, that's the right place.
It's the right buck. Yeah.
It's not me. Yeah. I didn't select that plan. Well, something that maybe you could discuss in your classes too is, as an insurance educator, I am amazed at how much an office is willing to write off for insurance. And then when you ask them to turn around and spend that money on marketing, it's like, whoa, that's a lot. And I'm going, you're writing off 30% for this plan. That's at a minimum.
Yeah.
Don't you think you could bump up 2 additional percentages in your spend for marketing? Let's do that. Let's spend, startups have great energy. They will spend a lot on marketing. It's great.
Yes.
So, but then when you get to the veterans, the older offices, they're like, oh, I don't want to spend more than 2%.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's just like, do you not? Oh, then you don't want to grow, right? Like you're just hoping, luckily I grow.
Right. Well, go buy a sandwich board and go stand out front, because that's what, that's good ROI on that.
It's huge ROI. Right? Yeah, the ROI is through the roof. You just need 100 of those people and you'll be great. That's such a good point. Well, this has been really, really good. You clearly know your stuff. I'm going to definitely bring you back on and have a longer conversation, because I feel like we could dive a lot more into this, specifically around growth. So I'm going to bring you on another podcast if you're up for it. I always ask people live on the recording, so they have to say yes. So
of course, talking about insurance. Oh yeah. Twist my arm, Gary.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you and say, hey, like, how can I learn more about this stuff and how could you help me? What would be the best place to contact you?
Sure. So my website is my company is Odyssey Management, but my website is Odyssey MGMT, because some smarter marketer grabbed the whole management piece. So OdysseyMGMT.com. And I have an online insurance course. It's 8 hours long, digestible modules you take on your own time. You're certainly welcome to do that. Gary, I'll send over a code for your listeners if they want. So for a courtesy, sure, I'll get that set up as soon as we get off the air. But they can also find me on Instagram, Teresa Duncan, and on Facebook and all the usual places. But sometimes I'm coming to your area speaking at some of the major shows. So if I'm there, please come see me. But I am definitely into insurance and management. So if anybody wants to hear more of me, I also have 2 podcasts. Nobody told me that. Chew on This is kind of the funny side of dentistry. And it's kind of abnormal how much I love talking about insurance and dentistry, but I think I'm in good company. So
you're in the right place. Awesome job. I'm going to bring you on Dental Marketing Go, and we're going to talk specifically. I'm going to spend 45 minutes with you talking specifically on how to grow your office just through understanding insurance. A lot more tactical. So awesome job today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.